Hello everyone, today we will analyze the sociolinguistic research, English Thai code switching of teachers in ESP classes. Let's start with introduction. English has been used in learning and teaching process, as code switching occurs many times for many reasons. However, there is a controversial strategy among scholars as to whether it is useful or impeding to switch back and forth between the target language and the student's language in the classroom. Let's move on to literature review. Code switching is the alternations of two languages in the same discourse or linguistic varieties in the same conversation. Campus define code switching in terms of its grammatical system and state that code switching happens within words, phrases, clauses, or sentences. Code switching in the classrooms is the alternative use of at least two languages. One is the second language and the other is the native language of learners. There are four types of code switching. First, intra-sentential code switching. It is the switch of languages that occurs in the middle of a sentence and is sometimes called code mixing. Next, inter-sentential code switching. It is the switch of a language that occurs between sentences. Next, extra-sentential switching. It is tags or fillers that do not exist in the lexicon or base language used. Lastly, code selections. It is selections of a particular language occurring when people select one code for certain purposes with certain people. Next, code switching functions. The formal functions of code switching are categorized as directive, representative, declarative, and expressive. The academic functions are for clarifications, translations, asking questions, answering questions, checking comprehension, and emphasizing ideas. Next, previous research on code switching. Many researchers believe that it's vital to use as many language functions as possible in the target language. Moreover, there are many investigations about the attitudes toward code switching in various countries such as America, Saudi Arabia, and Philippines, and the results are mostly positive. In Thailand, not many linguists have paid much attention to code switching in the Thai classroom. Study rarely examine the actual type and functions of code switching in this context. Even fewer included teacher opinions about using Thai while teaching English.
And this research has two main objectives. First, to examine type and function of code switching used by teacher in ESP classroom. Second, to explore teacher opinion about using Thai in their teaching. From research objective, researcher asked two research questions. First, what type and function of code switching that teacher use in ESP classroom, and second, what teacher opinion about using Thai in their teaching. The research does not explicitly mention the hypothesis, but we assume that teacher use code switching for pedagogical function such as explain and clarifying, and social function such as encourage and making jokes. Now, let's take a look at methodology. The study conducted in two ESP classes at University in Bangkok, English for Nursing and English for Tourism. The participants were the student and teacher in the classroom, about 35 to 45 each class, and data collection was collected through observation, audio recording, and semi-interview with the teacher. For analysis, researchers look at four types of code switching: intersentential, switching between sentences, intra-sentential, switching within sentence, extra-sentential, inserting small word or text, and code selection, choosing one language for specific purpose. And they also divided function into two groups, social function and academic function.
Now let's move to the findings in terms of language balance. In the nursing class, English was used about 23% of the time and Thai about 27%. In the tourism class, English was used about 75% and Thai about 25%. For the types of code switching, the most common was intersentential switching about 55%, and the second was intrasentential switching about 39%, and the other two types were quite rare. For the functions, teacher used code switching for two purposes. First, pedagogical purposes like asking questions, explaining, translating difficult vocabulary, and emphasizing ideas. And the second is social purposes like reminding students, giving directions, encouraging them, and even making jokes to reduce stress. Well, from teachers' opinions, both agree that English should be the main language, but some Thai is necessary. They saw advantages. Code switching helps students understand, reduces stress, builds confidence, and helps them with classroom management. But also disadvantages. It reduces English exposure, takes class time, and may demotivate stronger students. However, overall, teachers believe that code switching is helpful, but it should be used strategically, especially at the start of the course or for very difficult content. Alright, we are now at the last part, our comments. First, let's talk about the strengths. We think that this study is quite practical because it combines two types of data, classroom observation and teacher interviews. That means that it doesn't only show numbers like how often English or Thai were used, but it also explains why teachers chose to switch languages. This gives us a more complete picture of what actually happens in real ESP classroom. Another strength is that the study includes teachers' opinions, not just classroom behavior. So it helps us understand their real motivations for code switching, like explaining difficult terms, reducing stress, or building a more comfortable learning atmosphere for students. There are also some weaknesses that we noticed. First, the sample size is very small. The study only looked at two teachers from one university, which make it difficult to generalize to all ESP contexts in Thailand. Different subjects or teachers might use code switching in different ways. Second, the research only focused on teachers' code switching, not on student responses. We do not know how students code switching themselves or how they feel when the teacher switches to Thai. Maybe some students find it helpful, but others might prefer hearing more English. Third, the study did not explore the long-term effects of code switching. For example, does it help students learn English better over time, or does it make them depend too much on Thai? We still don't know the answers. And finally, it only focused on two ESP subjects, nursing and tourism. But if we look at other areas like business English or engineering English, we might see very different results in the teaching content and terminology are different. So if we could suggest improvements for future research, we would recommend a few things. First, include more teachers and more subjects from different universities to make the findings stronger. Second, include students' perspective, interview or survey them to understand how they feel about code switching and whether it really helps their learning. And third, study the long-term effects of code switching. So we can see if it helps or hinders English development in the long run. And overall, we believe that this study gives a clear and realistic view of how Thai teachers actually mix English and Thai in real ESP classrooms. It helps us see that code switching isn't just a bad habit. It can be an effective tool when used wisely and for the right reasons. And this is all for our video. Thank you.